So loyalty in rugby union is dead, apparently, and if it is, should we be worried and should we be surprised? That's what I want to get into after reading an article earlier in the Telegraph, which I'm going to go through with you. But first, quick reminder to hit subscribe if you haven't already. If you love rugby union, that's what you get here. I'm Tim. This is Eggchasers. We've got a podcast available wherever you get yours as well. So go and have a listen to that while you're at it. But yeah, the article in question is this one. In the Telegraph from Daniel Schofield today, who says, and it's concerning the exit of Mike Brown, who's been a one-club man his whole career at Harlequins, record appearance maker, over 350 appearances, I think. And yeah, he's going to Newcastle Falcons next season and clearly was very unhappy about the way that this was done. And Daniel Schofield says, Mike Brown's Harlequins exit shows that loyalty in rugby union is dead. Context here, actually, on Mike Brown, before I start this, because I don't want it to be misconstrued in any way. No one has banged the Mike Brown drum louder than me over the last few years, and my record on the podcasts and on videos is testament to this. When he was dropped from England after the tour to South Africa in, 2018? I was the one saying, still England's best fullback, and I've been saying that all along. I'm not just one of these people that's come along saying that this year, because he's been having an awesome season. I love Mike Brown. There's the context. Just wanted to get that in. But I don't agree with Daniel Schofield on this article. Let's read. So that's it then. According to multiple reports, loyalty in rugby union has officially passed away when Harlequins declined to extend Mike Brown's contract. It enters rugby's Valhalla alongside fingerless gloves and high kicking tees. I'd forgotten about high kicking tees until then. I also remember when they used to get mounds of sand and kick the ball off that. And I'm old enough to remember when they used to make divots in the grass and put the ball in that. That was pre-professionalism. And it is professionalism that we're talking about. I will just give a mention to Daniel Schofield. The one thing I totally agree with him on is that 2.5 minute brewing time in a cup of tea is absolute minimum. And preferably Yorkshire tea bags as well, for the record. But there we go. So he mentions the quotes from Mike Brown in... Where is it? There we go. The quotes from Mike Brown in the Mail on Sunday, which he wrote last week. Clearly very unhappy about the way it was done. Mike Brown said, quote, I chased the club for weeks about a new contract, and when they finally brought me in for a meeting, it lasted 4 minutes. Paul Gustard told me I had no future here, and I was staring down the barrel of unemployment. Now, journalist in me just wants to make the point. Clearly we're getting feelings, recollections, all mixed together here, because I don't believe for a second Paul Gustard said, hey, Mike, you're staring down the barrel of unemployment here. We're only getting Mike Brown's side of the story. We have to remember that. I'm 35 with a family to support, and I've been with Harlequins since I was 18. There was no thanks for your efforts, we'll help you with your future. Now, I've got a little video coming at the end, which I want you to stick around and watch, because I think it taps into this sense that is there a good way to let someone go? More on that in a little bit. But on a human level, anyone can empathise with Mike Brown when he says, I'm 35, I've got a family to support, and I've been here since I was 18. Anybody can empathise with that. Equally, so what? That's what you sign up for when you become a professional rugby player, isn't it? And hey, I'm talking from someone, my brother was a professional rugby player from 18 to 35, 36. And that goes with the territory. You know you might have to move your family, and yeah, your kids might have to move school. And yes, the network that your wife and you have built up in an area might go when you have to go as well. But that's part of the contract of being a professional rugby player. That's the deal. And Mike Brown has been at one club for 18 years, so he's never experienced this. Ask a championship player. Ask a low-ranking premiership player, squad player. They sometimes do this year after year after year for not a lot of money. So on a human level, I can appreciate how the effect this is going to have on Mike Brown and his family. But equally, and you know, I'm saying this as someone who works in radio and television, and I love those jobs. Working on the radio is an amazing job. You get to do some really cool things, meet amazing people. Last weekend I was in Ireland working on the European Cup, and I take those incredible things because I know it's a brutal industry, and it's so brutal that a lot of people don't want to get involved in it. And an example, I have friends that were told, they finished a radio show, then were told to come into a room and were told, you've done your last show, there's your things, off you go. It can be brutal. But I take that equation because I accept the negatives, because I love the positives. And you can't have one without the other, yin and yang. So, quote from Hugo Monnier after this article came out in the Mail on Sunday. A few uncomfortable truths told. This isn't just one club or one player. This is the game to a large degree. Sport is sport, but elite sport is a business. That must have been quite hard for Hugo to write because Mike Brown's a real good mate of his. But I totally agree. There isn't a place for sentiment in elite sport. And if there was, I would argue, if you let sentimentality get too high, then the performances are going to suffer as a consequence. And there are examples of Premiership clubs that have hung on to players for too long and paid them too much, and it's led to their downfall. Tough decisions always have to be made, and they never happen in a vacuum. And I would point Harlequins fans to the fact that to think that there isn't a relationship between Mike Brown, the club having to come to the difficult decision that Mike Brown was surplus to requirements at the money that he wanted, and that Marcus Smith signed a new contract and their captain Stephen Levis signed a new contract for, I'm guessing, a chunk more money. There's got to be a relationship between the two in a salary cap environment. To think there isn't is naive, and you can't have it all. So there we go. Daniel Schofield points out that the two most successful clubs in English rugby, Exeter and Saracens, have a small turnover of players, keep a core group together, supplemented with academy players, and that's absolutely right. But then again, we don't know what Harlequins' turnover of players is going to be like this summer. We're only talking about one player here, Mike Brown. That's it. So I understand the point, but I don't understand the point in this particular context, if you see me. So there's a chicken and egg counterpoint to say they've only kept faith with players because they have been successful. And because rugby is a business and money is finite, that is absolutely what is going on here. Even Mark McCall and Rob Baxter, great blokes as they are, great man managers, I have no doubt whatsoever they will make cold decisions when they need to. Daniel Schofield continues. However, even as players have passed their peak, they have kept them involved. Gareth Steenson and Phil Dolman. Yeah, but they're probably being paid less money. And to think for a second, I don't understand the point here. Is Daniel Schofield trying to say that Gareth Steenson and Phil Dolman were kept on just because they've been around a long time? No, they probably had reduced salaries from what they were on previously. Or if not, they were on an amount of money which Rob Baxter calculated was valuable for both their performances on the pitch and what they can add value to other players off the pitch. It would not have been remotely, oh, he's a good bloke, he's been around for a while, we should probably keep him on. If you think like that, you don't win trophies. I'm convinced that's just a fact. Steenson is now the club's kicking coach. This matters, especially in rugby union. In the past 12 months, Premiership players have accepted a 25% pay cut, supposedly for the greater good, while a cohort of former players have been diagnosed with early onset dementia. If you're sacrificing your long-term health for money, then players need to know the clubs will do right by you. I don't know what that last 4 or 5 words means. Will do right by you. What does that mean? Because in the case of Mike Brown, let's look at this. He's been at the club for 17 years. He signed his last contract. He's been paid throughout that contract. He's played bloody well through that contract as well. Contract is coming to an end. The payments will end. Now, clearly within that time frame, Mike Brown's been treated very well because he wanted to stay on longer and was disappointed he couldn't. What does the do right by you mean here? Should have given him a coaching job. Should have kept him on. Well, no, that's not how professional sport works. I don't buy that is remotely important. And it's sort of, I find it slightly patronising to Gareth Steenson getting a job as a kicking coach. I'm telling you, Rob Baxter will have made that decision because, well, he knows him firstly, and knowing someone and knowing what you're getting is massively important. And but fundamentally, Gareth Steenson is the kicking coach because he is going to add value as a kicking coach that makes his salary worthwhile, and that's it. And even more so in a time when clubs are not flush and every penny has to be scrutinised. To conclude, it's impossible to retain every player within the salary cap, but some decisions go beyond what a line of a spreadsheet says, regardless of the fact Brown would voraciously dispute the notion he's past his peak at 35. And hey, no one's banged the Mike Brown drum louder than me. His value goes way beyond on-pitch performances. He does not just set the standards, he demands them. Now, those couple of lines are really important. His value goes beyond on-pitch performances and he doesn't set the standards, he demands them. I'd argue that is why Newcastle Falcons are willing to pay him more than Quins are. Because Quins are going, oh, we don't really want to let Mike Brown go, but We need to give Marcus more money because otherwise he'll go, and he's young and part of the future. And Stephen Levis, our captain, we need to give him a new contract. And even if we lose Mike Brown's experience, which is vast, and as a proper club man, we've still got Danny Kerr and Joe Marler, and now Joe Marchant's an established international, and Andre Esterhazen's an international player as well. We can probably mitigate that. Whereas for Newcastle Falcons, they're looking at it going, we don't have many international players, aside from Mark Wilson. We could really make use of Mike Brown's experience. He could have a massive impact on our backline. So that's why Newcastle Falcons are willing to pay him more money, for exactly the reasons that Daniel Schofield has said, which he seems to be saying are the reasons why Quinn should have kept him. And if he's deemed expendable, what message does that send to the rest of the squad? Well, I'll tell you what that should say, what message that should send. That should send a message to the whole Harlequins squad and to every single professional rugby player, a reminder that they're doing a job. It's not a hobby. It's a job. And what you sign up for when you do a job is if you get an injury or you have a dip of form or someone better and cheaper is available, you will be gone. And it sounds harsh, but that is the reality, and it is the reality for every single player. And we're operating in an environment now where all of the coaching development officers around the country have been culled by the RFU to make money. Championship players are having to go and find new careers. Fringe players at Premiership clubs are finding they don't have a job anymore, or they're having to move around year after year. And Mike Brown is in a relatively great position where he's had an incredible time, earned a lot of money, rightly so. He's earned every single penny of it, don't get me wrong. And now he's got a new club to go to that value him more than his current club does. So I just see this as a non-story and a reminder that rugby is a job now for professional players, and you need to treat it as such. So like Gabriel Ibitoye, the Harlequins winger, sometimes when the money's on the table, as it was from Arjen for him, take the money. Not always. There are other factors at play, family, kids in schools and stuff, but sometimes take that money because loyalty doesn't exist. Take the opportunities you can. If the club's offering you to get qualifications, help you start a business, give you mentoring, take all those opportunities. If clubs are giving you access to financial advisors, or if not, get your own one. Make sure you invest your money wisely because loyalty doesn't exist, because your career is finite, because one tackle or injury could end it for good. And back onto the subject of Mike Brown saying that the meeting was only 4 minutes long and they didn't say how they would help me and stuff. I'm just going to finish by playing you this little clip from Moneyball when Brad Pitt's character, Billy Bean, is telling Jonah Hill's character how to fire someone. And my point here is there really a good way to do it?
I'm a player, and you got to cut me from the roster.
No.
Go.
Fine. Billy, please have a seat. I need to talk to you for a minute.
Go on.
You've been a huge part of this team, but sometimes you have to make decisions that are best for the team. I'm sure you can understand that.
You're cutting me.
I'm really sorry.
I just bought a house here.
Well,
In Oakland.
well,
that's all you got to say? My kid just started a new school. They made friends.
that's, well, you shouldn't pull him out in the middle of the school year. You should wait.
What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know. I'm not going to do this. I think this is stupid. I'm not going to fire anybody, and this is dumb.
They're professional ball players. Just be straight with them. No fluff, just facts. Pete, I gotta let you go. Jack's office will handle the details.
That's it? Really?
Would you rather get a bullet to the head or 5 to the chest and bleed to death?